out here on the 22nd of May, saw the operation, you have some understanding. What brings you back out today, and more than that, why is the dig larger than it was the last time?
So in May, our operation was at Knollwood Cemetery. The entire operation, which is Operation United, which stands for Unknown Names Identified Through Exhumation and DNA. The project was started to identify our unknown victims. This year I focused on homicide victims throughout the city of Detroit going back to 1959. We were successful in May. June we were at this cemetery and we made some attempts to recover some DNA from the unidentified remains. Today we're back out, and today is a 2-day operation, and it is larger because we are attempting to do more. We have a larger amount of victims that we're attempting to recover today. So we had to call in some extra members and extra professional assistance from our partners. The FBI has come in. MSP has assisted. NamUs has been doing the DNA testing for us. We have Superior Township Fire Departments out here. The Detroit Fire Department has assisted their personnel. Department of Public Works, everyone came together as one and united again to try to be successful in this operation.
Okay. What have you succeeded in accomplishing in this operation? In other words, how many people have you identified?
So there have been no identifications yet. The DNA processing, because what we're dealing with are remains that are from several years ago, so the testing is a longer process. I believe that we have already sent in the first 7 remains that we collected from May. Those results will probably come back 6 months to 8 months. It just depends on the caseload at UNT.
Now, the purpose of this is to, if memory serves, you had people who died unidentified in the morgue, buried here in paupers' graves. You've gone about the business of trying to identify them. Are you identifying them as homicide victims?
Yep. This year, all of our victims that we're exhuming, we have 24 total, are all homicide victims.
Okay. And now, as I recall, you also discussed the notion of taking evidence from other cases or cold cases and matching it to what you're finding here. Have you been able to accomplish that yet?
Well, so right now, the cases are all in a cold pattern because they're unidentified victims. It's hard to work a homicide case when you don't have the name of your victim. So the goal today is to not only discover who the names of these victims are. I'm sure some of them are going to be people that are reported missing. They may be from here, they may be from another state. That I don't know. Once the results start coming back, giving us some names and identifications, then we can bring some closure to families, along with trying to do some work on the homicide case.
All right. And last time you did this, there was a request for people, if they thought they knew somebody who might be here, to contact the police department. Were you overwhelmed by that response?
No, not at all. So I think I've maybe had one family come forward. Our records go back, obviously, throughout the years. They're paper records, so there are probably missing reports that we have that I don't have information on, which makes it very important that even if you have somebody reported missing, to make contact with the police department. You can update a report, do a new report, which will then help us. And if we have somebody that is matching someone that I am exhuming, then definitely we're going to look at the details and the timeline of when they went missing and anything else that we can try to do to match that specific person to that family.
My recollection is last time you were out here, you were taking bone samples for DNA analysis.
Yes.
But then I heard you mention something about 8 victims exhumed. Did you take the bones from the entirety of what was in the grave for processing at some point? Or am I missing that?
No. So the first dig in May, the remains, we were able to confirm who we were looking for in the ground that matched our cases. And confirming that with our doctors, the anthropologists that are out here, with the trauma on our victim compared to who we recovered. Now we're out here. The burial was done a little different back then on these grounds, so it's a little more difficult, which again is why we've extended it to 2 days. We have to have more people, and they're not in a vault, so you have to be very careful with what you're exhuming and matching it to your records. So from here so far, we've recovered one successfully. And I'm hoping that after the next 2 days that we get the remaining 13.
And do we know if these people are you getting the 13 names from a list, or
Well, so there is no name. Their name is, John Doe number one or Jane Doe.
Right.
We have a baby out here.
Mhm.
So the list is going through my records. I work with homicide. I deal with all the inactive homicides, and I also work on all the missing person cases when it comes to a point where we believe something has happened. So now we collect DNA on our cases, but years ago we didn't. Over the past several years, I would say each year I would do 1 or 2 exhumations when I had a family that I believed it was linked to, and we had it successfully come back, and we were able to bring that family home.
Okay. So is there a difference between what you did in May and today in terms of activity or reason for you being here?
No, there is no difference. We're here for the same goal. The same project is to recover good DNA from samples on our victims if we're able to confirm that it is our victim, and have that submitted in hopes of getting a name for that person.
Do you have a list of names that you think are possible victims, and then you're trying to match them with what you have here?
No, I have several. So you have to understand, some of these cases we may have recovered just some skeletal remains, so the timeline is not going to be good, where if somebody was reported missing. I may not have the information on a person that's reported missing, so there may be something that is here that I'm just not aware of because the family hasn't updated a case.
So United, when we last spoke, talked about not being a criminal investigation. It was just the idea of getting IDs for the people in the graves, and we're still at that place.
Yes.
So we're not thinking that these are connected to crimes per se. These are people you believe to be homicide victims, but you don't know who they are.
Correct.
And so coming out here today is an extension of what you were doing, and we had been told back then that you were going to be coming out and doing this on a
Throughout the
fairly
summer,
regular
yes.
basis. So essentially, this is just an update and an extension of what you did previously.
Yes.
Okay.
Sergeant, if I remember right, last time you guys were out at this location, there were some misidentified graves. Has that been solved?
So when we were out here last month, we did attempt 6 grave sites were unsuccessful, where we determined that it was marked improperly. We reached out and we were able to locate somebody who's been very hands-on and helpful in assisting us to locate the correct graves, as someone that worked here for several years prior to this company or management that owns the cemetery now. So this person has a better understanding of the grounds than the cemetery does. So they were able to go through and help us try to get a better area so we're more successful today.
And so the bottom line here is that you're just continuing on with the program. And the first dig in the 22nd you said was Knollwood Cemetery, and that is not this one. So we're at
Correct.
a separate second cemetery.
Yep, so May was Knollwood, which is in Canton. They were very helpful. They helped us with the exhumations as well. That didn't have as many people because we knew they were in vaults. The larger operations today, because they're not in vaults, you have to do a different process with the exhumation, so it just takes a little longer, so we can make sure we're getting it done right.
We were told at the time that the bodies that were here were in paupers' graves, in pine boxes and body bags, and no other embalming or anything. Is that what we have here as well?
That's what we're finding so far. There's no vaults where they were. It was the paupers' graves. It's my understanding that they were pine boxes, which obviously we're going back to 1959. Currently, so on today and tomorrow search warrants, my victim goes back to 1967 to 1993. So these are pieces of wood that have been in the ground for 20, 30, 40 plus years. So it's a very detailed exhumation where you have to get down and know the different ground and soil, and that's why we have those people, because I can't do it.
Now, so you did May, did a little in June, now you're here in July, and July, August. How much longer will you continue this year?
So this year, today and tomorrow will determine whether we have to come back. If we're successful today and tomorrow and we do recover the 13, that would have been our goal for the summer. If we find that we have to put some more work, or it's taking even longer and more meticulous to break it down, then we might have another date in August.
So what is your optimism about finding what it is that you're after here today?
I feel very good today. I do. With the we found the markers, we've been doing the measurements, we've come across, and we're kind of looking at different areas and mapping it from, you know, families who are here who have headstones, because none of these have headstones. They're all unidentified or unclaimed bodies that were buried, you know, several years ago. So.
And so it's still, we're probably 6 to 8 months out from knowing what it is that you're after here, which is identifications of these bodies to find out whether you can close any of these cases.
Correct. Well, so number one, identification to give them back to their family. Right. These are people that are out here buried and kind of, they're not forgotten. And so my goal is, even after this year, next year, if I focus on missing persons who maybe somebody we recovered that not a result of homicide, but it is somebody that was recovered that has not been identified or was left unclaimed because there's no name. I'll work on that next year. I wanted to see how the project went this year, who was willing to assist, and as you can see from everybody that's here, we've had great support.